I'm the only white face in this area. You don't belong here. Stop, I'll shoot you in the back.
Yo, what's up? Mike from Coppville here to talk about Tasty Gains creatine gummies. I would never push a product I don't use. I didn't take creatine until I ran into Tasty Gains and started taking these gummies because they're simple. No powder, no mixing, just pop a gummy in, 1 gram of creatine per gummy. What are the benefits of creatine? Increase water to the muscles to get that sick pump in the gym. Better recovery, more power during your workout, and studies are now showing it's helping with the brain, which I need all the help I can get. So go to tastygains.com, use code COPVILLEOG for 20% off. This is the real deal, simple, easy, and we'll get that pump going so you look good for the ladies or men. Yo, what's going on, guys? Locked Up with Coppville, another episode. We're going to talk about the memo. I posted this yesterday in my story, and I got a lot of feedback, a lot of questions about what happened, how it went down. Obviously, you see my page. I post a lot of memes. That means I have a squirrel brain. That's how I come up with these memes, and it's been very successful. So sometimes, I interview people on here, and it's easy just have a flow conversation. Sometimes when I explain things, I kind of have a squirrel brain. So I made some handy dandy notes here, and I'm going to kind of go over the course of events briefly. We're not going to be here all day about what led up to the memo and then what happened after the memo, because most of the questions were, what happened after this was over. So let's start with the memo. Let's start a little background. Throughout my career, I did 23 years. I worked DEA, task force, undercover narcotics, detective, street crimes, SWAT, U.S. Marshals task force. So I did a lot of things. Throughout that time, now I was investigated for some pretty wild things. If you're a good cop, you probably will be. My sustained allegations throughout my career were some memos for crashes. I think I got in trouble one time for taking a picture in a gym with a guy who they didn't like and said, you shouldn't be hanging out with him. It was in a public gym. And then TikTok, I got in trouble for the TikTok. I'm a moron. Anybody who knows me knows I admit completely moronic to ever make TikToks. I hate it. Hate that I did it, but I did it and I recovered. So here we are for that. And then obviously the big one where I was demoted, and we're going to talk about that because that plays into part of what we're talking about. So let's start with just the memo. I'll bring the memo up for people that didn't see it on my story yesterday. So I was given this memo on August 26th last year. The reason I posted it was the 1-year anniversary, and effectively it transferred me, gave me my minimum time required by contract to transfer me from detective in the real-time crime center to the jail as a jailer. No experience in the jail, not certified in the jail, never went to corrections, didn't want to work corrections, and then removing me from SWAT, which is a huge deal. And if you read the way this memo is written, it's very personal. I believe the sheriff probably authored this or wanted it written this way. Multiple people have commented to me in the DMs how personal this memo looks and how it's trying to hurt my feelings, on top of obviously taking away money, moving me to a position I've never worked in. And then, takes away CID specialty pay, detective clothing allowance. This would essentially have eliminated my ability to ever work overtime again, because in the jail there's no overtime. So this is a huge financial attack on me, on top of just get lost, pal. This was intentional. So let's talk about, how did we get here? What are those memes where we say, this is me, one of those, how did I get here? So around, this new sheriff takes over in 2021, everything's going well. He's got a good command staff. He's got good people around him. And sometime during that time, he decides that he's going to have an affair, and that kind of rocked the agency and started a interwar amongst the people who wanted to hold him accountable and the people who wanted to surround him, get around him to tell him everything was great, to get moved and get more money. And then you had a group of guys that just wanted the agency to run well and cared about police work. Those guys ended up gone, including myself. So I hate dates, but I'm going to bring this up. These are my allegations. I'm going to bring this up. So this IA was served to me in January. So look at the dates at the top. January 5th of 2022. 3, I am served with an IA, and the initial is just the old conduct unbecoming. I've talked about this on other pages. So I get served as IA, conduct unbecoming, January like 4th or 5th of 2023. I'm actually leaving to go to the NTUA active shooter instructor class when I get this dumped on me. I call IA or click. I'm like, hey, can you tell me what this is about? They mentioned this traffic stop that I did back in November of 2022. So November 2022, January of 2023, I'm getting served. And I remember the call and I'm like, yeah, whatever. It was a short pursuit. Mom and dad run their mouth. You know, I arrested the dad for resisting and took the kid to jail for fleeing elude. Whole nother episode. We're not going to go crazy in that. But over a 6-month period, I'm a sergeant on street crimes. From January to June is how long this investigation takes. Some of the quick points about this investigation, it came in, it was an agency initiated. The scumbags never filed a complaint because there wasn't one. And this was initiated as part of a witch hunt because I had, as I said in my video yesterday and talked about, I stopped supporting this administration due to failure, affairs, and nonsense. And I said, this is not the way I'm going. I was the best man at this dude's wedding, the sheriff. We're very close, but I have to hold true to bad guys go to jail. We do the right thing and we maintain that mentality. This place turned into a circus, political favors, friends of friends, guys around him, just like any other corruption, it just fell apart. So back to the memo or the investigation. So I get served in January and it's conduct unbecoming. And throughout the course of this thing, it is Charlie Brown, or I'm not Charlie Brown. It snowballs like the Frosty the Snowman. It snowballs into the most wild investigation you could ever imagine. I'd never get put on admin leave. I never get relieved of duties of street crimes, high risk street crimes, U.S. Marshals Task Force, bad dudes going to jail, never get relieved of duty. As this thing slow rolls, I can see it happening, how it's going around my chain of command. Procedures, usually you get a complaint, goes to your chain of command, your captain, the deputy chief, third in charge, was never notified of the complaint. My captain never notified of the complaint. It steered clear of all that. So to breeze through this without staying here all day, because this is an episode in itself, I get interviewed in April. Finally, they charged me with Group 3 originally. This one's doesn't say that. Group 3, use of excessive force. Basically, they said I choked a guy, unfounded. Changed to regular Group 1, saying that the arrest was bad and that I should have never arrested him. Job knowledge, another catch-all. But the interesting ones are like neglect of duty and code of ethics. They dug so deep to tarnish my name and make me look like a clown that they, after my first interview in April, they upped or added a new charge, which was the ethics. There's been people at our agency that have committed crime that still work there. There's been people who have assaulted and harassed women throughout the agency and throughout time at the agency. There's and nobody has ever been charged with the ethics part of this. This is for like the county's in danger. I'm a danger to everybody. You can watch the video. It's absolute nonsense. So I don't go crazy about that. But to talk about why I ended up on the wrong side of things, started with the political stuff, ends with this IA that is just a one-of-a-kind monster that if you ever want to, I did it on the IA Guy podcast, went deep into it, but that's how we ended up there. So I get demoted in June of 2023, and I'm transferred from patrol to the real-time crime center. Initially, it was tough. Real-time crime center, I'm like the offensive coordinator. Instead of being out on the field, I'm watching everything. But it was amazing. And I worked with some amazing people in the crime center that do not get the credit they deserve. Our sheriff, I don't call him our sheriff, the sheriff, he ain't my sheriff. The sheriff would tout this real-time crime center as state of the art, which it was. Greatest people on earth. They blew them off. They pay them nothing. They work long hours. They're not respected by the detective division because they're too pompous to actually dig in and use these great people. So I go in there with the mindset of like, okay, I'm off the road. You've taken away 20 some years of hard work and police work out on the road. So I'm a crime center detective. Let's do it. I embrace it. In Florida, we can enter vehicles as what's called a felony vehicle if they're involved in any felony. We never did it as an agency. And I'm like, here's an opportunity to start somebody comes into our area and does something, we can track them after they leave. So I start the process and successfully get felony vehicles brought into the crime center, where we can now enter these vehicles. We're monitoring body cam, we're monitoring bulletins, we're seeing crime trends, and we're actively looking into like business burglaries, the suspects, where could they live, areas. It becomes another addiction of mine, because putting bad guys in jail was an addiction for my whole time, but my whole career out on the street. Now I got all these great people around me to help me dig. Like like your old lady, when you get caught with a slick message, she starts digging. This is what we're doing. We're a bunch of old ladies in there, not age old, but old ladies that are digging through people's data and everything, trying to find out what they did wrong. Absolutely love it. Within a couple weeks, one of our felony vehicles pays off. This dude's doing robberies around South Florida, middle of Florida, ends up in Jacksonville. And because of the felony vehicle entry, we're able to catch him, and it's flagged when they stop him that, hey, this guy was in another county doing all this stuff. Wrap him into multi-thing. We would get like high-end shopliftings and mass shopliftings for Best Buy for thousands of dollars, or outlet malls for thousands of dollars. And we would get a tag through our tag reader system. We were able to enter it as a felony vehicle. And then we were able to track that car through other flock hits. I hate saying that name. I didn't mean to say it, but through other license plate reader hits and catch them. The problem I had was nobody from the detective division wanted to get involved once we caught them, because it's work. Like we would get this vehicle and say it hit us, and now it's 6 hours away with all of our stolen property in it. I'm banished to a desk. I'm tied to the desk because I'm a danger to the community. So I now have to walk into this DB where everybody's at lunch and doing whatever they're doing, and lieutenant's sleeping behind his desk, and I have to go tell them, hey man, I need you to go do this. Like, I need to go, you got to go write a search warrant. You got to go recover our property. And it's the blowback and pushback from that. I actually got like PTSD from having to walk in there and actually tell them they had to go do some work. And it became a problem. So, but the crime center was excellent. So it filled the void, and I started to embrace that position. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm here. I am. I air condition every day. No excuses. I have a very easy job when it comes to physical. I'm not going to domestics. I'm not, out there chasing bad guys physically. Here I am. I'm old. I'm actually on light duty at this point. I blew my meniscus and my left knee out for the second time during a shooting SWAT class and gun class. So I'm like, I'm laid up anyway between everything's going on. Like, let's do it. I reiterate, real-time crime center is one of the greatest things that can happen to your agency. And when you have a group of people like the one I worked at, they are amazing and they can do so much for you. And I embraced it, and we're all off we go. Let me look at my handy dandy notebook, make sure I'm not missing anything. So the going back to the memo, going back to the memo. So when I'm handed this memo and I end up in this position, I was never told why. I knew why, but I'm never told why. I had 3 dudes, 2 cowards, 1 dude that I don't have a problem with. Hand me this memo from the beginning, and they just hand it to me. I'm like, okay, my life just got flipped upside down. You guys know all the stuff I've gone through with family and everything, the old brotherhood, PTSD, things that have happened to me, and 2 cowards and a dude just stand there and look at me. I think they sent 3 because they thought maybe I was going to go off the reservation and go crazy, which none of that's worth it. So just wanted to touch on that. So that's, these are guys I worked with my whole career, guys that, one guy was absolutely off the rails when he got demoted because he stole something on a call, found it. And I was instructed by the sheriff and everybody go out on patrol with him and, get his head right and make sure he was okay, because he was saying some wild stuff and he had been found guilty. And that guy looks at me, doesn't give a shit, just stands there with their hands, sits there with everybody else and hands the memo out like no big deal. So now that this is going on, when we fast forward through my crime center, there's an election coming up. And I have now, based on everything I just told you and the way I was treated, I have now changed from the guy that I was best friends with. Like, this guy's not running this place right. I'm going to support the other candidate. And for the first time in my life, I thought, I'm not going to hide. And I know when I talk, a lot of you guys have to hide and you can't say anything. Coming on the show, I get DMs, you tell me all these stories and you have to hide. And I get it. I understand. But for the first time, I'm like, I'm not hiding anymore. Like, I've been doing this job at this time. This is all going on 20 plus years, 3 years in the United States Army. I'm like, I'm a grown man and I'm like, I'm done hiding behind the First Amendment where I can't say that I don't support this place, or I can't say, and I'm not talking about undermining the operation. I'm talking about general criticism that the citizen should know about, protected free speech, to say this place is fucked. Like, you guys got to know about this. So I start to make comments and posts, and I am through the grapevine, and everybody knows the grapevine of the agencies. Oh, they're going to come after you. They're going to get you. They're looking at you. They're going to do everything they can. Even when I'm commenting on Facebook, there's company men trying to respond to the comments. Dudes that have never had a lick of stress in their lives. Dudes that come to work 2 hours late, go home 2 hours early, wear polos, and all the dudes I make fun of. All the dudes I make fun of are the ones I'm surrounded by, because they don't do a fucking thing. They don't wear vests. They just go to lunch. I'm surrounded by these guys, and pretty much the whole agency turned into that. Besides, there's a group of guys that I love, and they're doing it, but for the most part. So the election's rolling now, and I got people telling me, don't post that. You shouldn't post. I got called in one day by a deputy chief, and he says, I see what you're posting, or he doesn't see it. He says, I hear what you're posting on Facebook and Instagram about the upcoming election. You need to stop that. And I'm like, for the first time in my life, I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I'm not going to stop it. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Like, the people need to know. You don't have to agree with my opinion, but I'm going to give it, and I have the right. I've earned the right to give my opinion. So, I'm going to debates. I'm sitting in debates. I'm listening. And there was actually 3 candidates. I supported Milo Thornton for sheriff. Keith Touchberry was running. He would have been my second choice, much better. And then the last guy, Cowboy Eric Flowers. So I start going and I start listening, but I'm open-minded. I'm like, let me hear what they got to say. It's clear in the room that the other 2 candidates are far better. And there were rumors and talk of people going to go down if the election went the wrong way. And that's normal. I was prepared for it, but I wasn't going to stop doing what I was doing. There was actually a rumor that came out. There's a captain, and I'm not going to hammer everybody. I'd love to, but there's a captain who walks around the building having some extra activities. That's pretty much all he does. And he told a secretary that there was a hit list of guys that were going to go down if the election went the wrong way, because they didn't know how it was going to go. I believe they thought they were going to lose, but they didn't. But there was a certain captain who walks around in and out of a single door in the agency, always in that office, and he talked to about a hit list, and then the secretary came and told me that he said this, and there was actually, I know of, an investigation kind of monitoring his activity. So they were talking how anybody, and I was prepared. I know if it went the wrong way, it was going to be ugly. So back to this day, when I get called in, the election is on Tuesday, August 20th. Sheriff wins re-election. 66% of the county voted against him. He got 33% of the vote, but because that 66% was split between Keith Touchberry and Milo Thornton, they blew him out of the water collectively, but individually, the sheriff squeaked by, and he wins another term. So that's Tuesday, election day. We go back, kind of mentioned it earlier, August 26th, Monday. I'm sitting in the crime center. I get the ring, come see the captain, walk in, and there it is. There's the three amigos. Again, nobody explains anything. Nobody says anything. My life has been flipped sideways. I mean, imagine walking into that memo. I've gotten all the comments are, you can't do that. It's illegal. Why did you sue them? Unions. Down in Florida, none of that matters. It just doesn't matter. They don't care. The agencies just bully people. You can see it all over Lee County, Broward County, all these people all these stories you see me posting, they just do whatever they want. So they take a person who put 20 some years into the agency, or just short of 20 years in the agency, but 23 years total, and they just flip their life upside down. No regard for their family, their children, spouse, finances. None of that stuff matters. They just slide this piece of paper across like cowards, and they hand it to you, and you got to figure it out, man. And that's, a lot of the message I get from you guys is like, what do I do? What do I do? I don't know what you do. You come here and we get it out if you can, or we make it awareness to this problem. I don't know what we do in Florida because there's really no power. Some other states, you got unions, you definitely fight it. If there's one message you take from this, if you're still listening at this point, fight it. Document everything, fight it, and don't lay down, because it doesn't get any easier, and they don't lay up. So part of this is I'm told, take the memo. I have to call my spouse, I have to call my buddies, and one buddy I called, he's like, damn, that's crazy. Well, my best friend. And then an hour later, he got a transfer memo too, because he was on, he whatever. I don't want to talk too much about what he did, but he got the same, damn, that's crazy. And he's like, man, that's crazy what happened to you. And then an hour later, he calls me and says, they got me too. So I'm told to go to the jail now. I got to walk over to the jail and see the deputy chief, and get my assignment. I'm like, little kid, I'm brand new. I'm a jailer. I'm going to the jail after all this time. Immediate stress, because, we'll talk about that more. So I go over to the jail, and I'm like, what's the reason? Like, I still want the reason, even though I'm pretty, I'm not intelligent. I'm street smart. So I'm like, I get what's going on here. So what I was told to my face from the deputy chief wasn't any performance problems, wasn't any legal problems, wasn't any IA problems. I told you that posting on Facebook was going to be a problem. You went to the debate and you sat next to Lonnie Rich, who Lonnie Rich was the third in charge at one point, who has his own story about getting railroaded out after 30 years of dedicated service. No cake, no ice cream, no party. So basically, I was told it was retaliation. He didn't say the word retaliation, but the reasons for being transferred, when asked the new deputy chief in charge of corrections, Deputy Michael Dilks, was politics. You knew you didn't support the sheriff. You knew when you went to those debates, you knew where you sat. So basically, exercising my First Amendment rights was a problem. So being that I was on light duty, I'm like, I'm not going to the jail. I will tell everybody from that day, my intention was to leave December of that year. I was done. I was gone. I had Copville. They didn't know about it. I had all that, everything going on, very successful business running in the background they didn't know about. And I'm like, I'm done. Like, I was never stepping foot in the jail ever. But so I have the knee injury. I'm like, I'm not even going to sit in the jail. So I'm like, I'm on light duty. I'm still waiting on surgery. We're dealing with workers' comp, a whole nother episode that could be, because I blew my knee out twice. So I'm waiting. I'm like, I'm just going home. Like, I have the option to take light duty at the station or at home. I'm like, later. So I bail. I go home. I'm like, I'm not going to jail. So I start to formulate my exit plan at that point. Like, how do I get gone? Shortly thereafter, beginning of September, my spouse has hip replacement surgery, and I take FMLA. So now, for users don't know, and if you ever go on FMLA, make sure you read the federal law and FMLA law. You are pretty much gone. You're not part of the agency at that point. Yeah, you can't go get a DUI or domestic, but you don't have to come to work. You can be in Europe. You're on FMLA. You're taking care of mental health. You're taking care of your spouse had a baby. You're taking care of your spouse because they're injured. Your mom, whatever FMLA is granted for. When you get that, it's, you're gone. So I'm on FMLA, and I get a call from the one deputy chief that says, you got to come in for a random drug test. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You have to come in. I'm like, at the time, I got unions. I would have called my union attorney, but he doesn't fucking answer because he's a moron. So I'm like, didn't sound right, but you have to go in. So I'm like, okay, let me drive in, because, you're still on that world of like, can I go all in? How crazy do I want to make this? Like, how much do you want to buck? So I'm like, I'll go in. So I get there and I walk into a random drug test. Now, it was not random. And I don't want to throw the other guy under the bus, but somebody had some problems and I ended up wrapped up in it. And so I get in there and it's random drug test. It's not random. It's on a piece of paper that is completely not the random drug test paper, but I am reassured multiple times, lied to, while on FMLA, where I don't have to come to work and I'm not obligated to take it, told I have a random drug test. So I'm like, okay, give it to me. And it was random for the normal stuff, and then there was like a hand typed part that said steroids. I have no problem. I've admitted it before. I've done steroids. Everybody that worked there, I'm sure know. I was going to put up fancy pictures of myself before and after because it's quite the transformation. But I've done testosterone and other stuff, so I'm like, yeah, whatever. I have no problem admitting that. I'm not going to dive in the hole of cops and steroids because it's a whole thing. I don't have a problem with it. I think we should all be fit and very well in very good shape. And sometimes you get older, you need a little help. So I get called in, take the drug. I take it. I'm like, I don't give a fuck at this point. Like, I'm done. Like, you can have it. So the funny part is, though, when you get a random drug test at the sheriff's office, they give you a form. You drive yourself over, you pee in the cup, and you leave. So I'm like, okay, give me the form. I'll go take it. I always intended on taking it. Give it to me. Nope, we're taking you. And I'm like, you're taking me. So I am ordered into a car by an armed police officer and driven to a clinic. In the back, the girl's like, yeah, they called ahead. They, spent all this extra money to have these other tests. So I fill the cups and I leave. And I'm like, you know what? I didn't know it had been a long time since I hit the chicken and rice. And I was like, I don't even know. But I'm like, I'm done. So people say I was fired. I did all this. I did the illegal this, that. No. So here, pull that up. I went home September 12th and I resigned. So I didn't get fired. There's my resignation. Please accept this memorandum as my intention to resign from the New York County Sheriff's Office on September 12th, 2024. I served the agency for 19 years, 9 months. Feels time to move on from this profession. I would like to pay my accrued sick and vacation to my deferred comp, blah, 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 blah. And I bounce. So that's it. Career's over. Boom. Interesting part there I want to touch on, and then like true fashion, I skipped over something I should have covered earlier. We're going to cover a memo or an email I wrote and get in the conversation about that. And maybe it's good that I ended on that to show you the mental health side. But historically, the policy of the agency is if you leave, either way, you get all your vacation. You have to give 2 weeks notice to get your sick time, which I had a ton of, about 20 grand worth. So when I submitted that memo out of vindictiveness, I was told you're getting your vacation, not your sick time. So I did a public records request for the last 6 people before me that resigned like me on the day of and what their exit interview / payout was. All 6 were given both vacation and sick. One was under investigation for domestic. I don't know if it's true or not. He resigns. One guy had something to do with sex in a car at leaving town, like school resource stuff. He was given it. Female, not doing reports, multiple, not doing investigations, just leaving reports unwritten, given. Lonnie Rich, who basically resigned on the spot when they screwed him, and his payout was significant. He got it all. The most interesting one was a person that was guilty of sexual harassment and abuse of an employee to the point their FDLE certification was yanked. And I was told from one of the FDLE guys, it was one of the worst cases they had ever seen. That person was allowed to resign on the spot prior to termination and was paid all their sick and vacation time at lieutenant's pay. But me, I was not paid out my sick time. So if that tells you, if you think I'm full of shit for all this, I'm a crybaby, which I'm sure some of the comments will be, and I don't care. All that I just explained to you leading up to even leaving, resigning, it's treated differently. People that were fired for, or going to be fired for serious stuff, which I think sexual harassment and harassment of employees, females, is pretty serious. And then it goes even deeper, but we'll not talk about that. But that person was allowed to leave with all their vacation and sick time. Not me. I didn't get my vacation sick time. So to go back, the same deputy chief that told me it was a random drug test and that I shouldn't have been in videos and I shouldn't have been in, not videos, I shouldn't have commented, I shouldn't have used my First Amendment right. I wrote, and I talked about this in another episode, I wrote an email when they transferred me to the jail. And this is where I go with mental health. I'll be admitted, I was terrified at the thought of getting locked inside the jail with people that I had put there. I've arrested over 1,000 people in my career. A lot of them were dangerous drug cases where they're in federal prison still, or life in prison. I had multiple people threaten my life, and then just all the arrests I made. Terrified. I have never gone past the reception part of the jail. No tours, no going down range inside the jail. Of all the things that people say, oh, I got PTSD, I don't want to be around that. I don't want to be near those people. I'm not saying all criminals are bad. There's people in there for what? Bad situations. I'm not saying that, but it's the jail, and I didn't want to go near it. Never in my career of 23 years in this county did I walk past the actual reception or the place you talk to informants and go into the pods where the stuff was, and I never wanted to. Yuck. So that started to build. Of all the dead bodies I've seen, all the stuff that they tell us that PTSD and cops are this, cops are that, we know this bothers us, that bothers us. None of that bothered me. Do I hate it? Yes. Do I remember every shitty call? Yep. Still spins up there. I hate them. I hate all of it. I hate the feeling I had when I had to tell, mothers their infants were dead or children were dead. I hate all of it. It sucks. But I signed up for it. That was my job. And, I toughed it out. And is there some residual effects up there? Maybe. But it's not to the point where I would ever harm myself. I'm good. This, though, it felt different, because now I was being put in an uncomfortable position. And then I'm looking at this going, well, if I was planning on staying, I got 5 more years to go sit in the jail and run into all these people. So I'm going to bring up an email that I authored. And I made a mistake, like everything else, the thin blue line. I've told people about that, over the weekend I was going to write this. And one second. So this is some of the notes I made. If you get down to 9/3, that's the morning my wife's in surgery, getting a full hip replacement, and stressful, right? Phone rings. I had written this, email much bigger, and I'm gonna submit this, and I get a call, and he says, "Hey, the sheriff knows about a memo you're gonna write, or a letter bashing the agency." And I said, "No, that's not the case." I'm like, "I have some concerns." And I told him, I didn't read it to him verbatim, but I said, "Hey, if you guys are watching, you can kind of read through that. That's the notes of everything I was told over that time frame that I kept track of." And I said, "No, it's not bashing the agency, and it's a 2-page memo that basically it says everything I just told you. I'm terrified to go into jail. I put thousands of people there. I have anxiety." The first time I was really experiencing that, other than an investigation that I dealt with a spouse, I'm really concerned. I'm like, man, this doesn't sit right. So I tell him, I said, "Hey, dude, like, I'm writing this memo because I am concerned for my mental health, my safety, to go in the jail and deal with this and have to be around these people, and people threaten my life, my family. And, on the street, I feel like I can control it. Like, I can keep my eyes out, you come to my house, I got plenty for you, on the street, I'm ready to go. But I go into the jail, no vest, no weapons, and deal with this. It was the worst feeling ever." So he says, "All right, hold on 1 second. I'll call you right back. I'm going to call the sheriff." Calls the sheriff, and the response was, after talking to the sheriff, "It's in your best interest not to submit that memo. It's just going to basically make your life more miserable." I don't know how it could get more miserable, but it was going to basically make my life more miserable. And I hung up. And that's when I said, that's, all that combined, drug test, steroids. No, it is what it is, dude. Dudes are juicing. People are doing steroids. I don't care what you say. All your athletes are, all your friends are, like, if they're jacked. But I don't have a problem with it, but all those things leading up, that's when I went, like, I can't, mental health. That's it. That was the card where it was like, I'm done. I should have sent the memo anyway. I still have it completely authored, signed, the whole thing. I never just click the button. But at that moment, I knew I wasn't going to subject myself to that environment. So when you guys call me and you say, "What should I do? What should I do?" Fine. Even when yesterday, like, I want to leave. This is all bad. This is happening. But I got kids. I got finances. Well, my advice to you is, don't go buy all those fancy trucks and do all that crazy stuff and get your money all tied up where you can't make a decision like this to leave when they come after you. And you have to be ready for this to happen, because this is going to happen to everybody at some point. Unless you go sit under a tree and just become an admin and do nothing and just jack guys around like this. There's a few good agencies. Sandy Springs Police Department comes to mind. Martin County Sheriff's Office comes to mind. There's a few places. Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, I think, is great. I'm not saying anybody else's agency isn't great, just those are the ones that stick out in my head. But you have to prepare yourself for this to happen, because you can go from big time to this side of things very quickly, especially in a sheriff's office where every 4 years there's an election. So my advice to you guys is, keep yourself in the position to move if you have to, or change agencies you have to, and get away from it. Don't pigeonhole yourself into such a spot that you have no money and you can't do it, because that's where I believe guys turn the gun on themselves. I've said 100 times, say it again. I don't think it's the dead babies. I don't think it's the calls. Sometimes it is, but it's usually this type of behavior that I talked about over and over and over. And then you end up in the jail in a place that you're completely cannot function, or a position, or they change your schedule where your family, you don't see, whatever it may be. And then you hit that breaking point of like, I can't do this anymore. Or like my IA, they just make you out to be a monster when you're not. And then, I get a lot of those messages. Guys get roped on IAs, and it's like, this agency has 4 suicides. None of those people are killing themselves because of babies or calls. They're killing themselves because of ongoing issues at the agency, multiple traumatic incidents involving their character integrity, their performance, that they're out there doing the right thing, and then they get treated like this. So that's the memo. That's what happened. I tried to keep myself down. Usually you see I'm all over the place, crazy. I probably still was, but that's the most calm that I can be, to try to explain like the process and what happens. I hope, if you think I'm a piece of shit for doing steroids or doing tell me. I don't care. It's my decision. I did what I did. I chose to do that, just like anything else. And, I get there, all the rumors, this, that, and blah, blah. Yep, I did. I chose to do it. I never really failed the drug test because I left before it came back. I don't even know what happened, but I suspect I know what happened, but I'm transparent. Like, I made mistakes. Absolutely. Am I perfect? Nope. I did things. I hung out with people I shouldn't have hung out with. Done things I shouldn't have done, but I'm here to tell you that I own it. I made mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes, but don't let them convince you that hard police work or anything else is a mistake if you get in trouble like I did, because you're out doing your job. You're not sitting under a tree smoking cigs. You're not in the sheriff's office beating everybody off trying to get promoted. You're not just showing up at 2 hours a day, eating lunch, going home and doing nothing. There's a lot of that at my agency, and a lot of agencies, I'm sure, when I say that. But if you're going to go out, it was in a reel the other day with me and Tyler. If you're going to go out and bust it up, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get in IAs, and you expect them to have your back. And when they don't, it's the worst feeling in the world. And when you see it cooked up, I pull all the IAs for that. I did all the IAs for that year. There was use of forces in the jail that were Group 3 founded, where they used excessive force resulting in injury, letters of counseling, minor suspensions, no demotions. One of them was supervisor. There's guys doing the wildest things. It's obvious when you get on the list. I just did another request for like the more recent ones. I plan on showing those, like how different mine was handled. Mine is 232 pages for a resisting arrest and a pursuit. It's the dumbest thing ever. Literally, it's cut and dry. You either like it or you don't. It's not demotable. You like it, you go, Where you go, could have handled it differently. Could have handled it differently? I could always do everything differently. Could I handle things better? I could always handle things better. Was it demotable? Absolutely not. But then you'll have cut and dry ones where guys steal things or guys do, wildest crazy things and stalking and all kinds of stuff. And it's like minor suspension, multiple incidents of the same behavior. And all of you know it because I get sent stuff where you're like, this is the third time this guy did this and he didn't get in trouble. So when you see 232 pages, 6-month investigation, completely handled differently than everybody else's investigations, and then over punished, you know what time it is. And this is why. So that's the memo. I appreciate you guys' support. Obviously, you follow me at Copville OG on Instagram. www.copvilleog.com is my website for merchandise. At Copville OG on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast. We're keeping it real. Counterculture. Don't forget Counterculture Inc., part of that network. We're gonna do this. And I have no problem being the guy that goes after your agency and makes them explain or try to hold them accountable in a time when they get to hide behind an admin and just railroad people. We're not going to let that happen anymore. We're not going to do that anymore. Message me. Everything is confidential. I'll suck it in. I'll give you good advice. If I don't think you should talk about it, I'll tell you don't talk about it. If you want to talk about it, I'll tell you to consult a lawyer or somebody that can say, yeah, it's probably a good idea. But the bottom line is, don't kill yourself because of these people. Don't hurt yourself because of these people. You have a support group. You can call me, you can text me, you can DM me, and we'll get you help. But don't let being a good cop turn to the point where you can't take it anymore because you're getting smashed at work. We'll figure a way around it. We'll hold those things. We'll hold people accountable, and we'll get your story out, and we'll make sure you have resources. But that's the story. That's the memo. That's my version. I have no problem. You guys can comment, message. I'll clear anything up. But I appreciate you guys' time, and y'all have a good day.
I'm the only white face in this area. You don't belong here. Stop, I'll shoot you in the back.